Thank you very much for watching. Our telephone lines are open now. Senator Holly Hughes is a Liberal Senator from New South Wales. She joins us in the Man Cave. Lovely to have you back.
Thank you very much, Paul.
And first time on the show. I was lucky enough to be on his show last year, so favours must be reciprocated, and I think he's a very clever young bloke. He's none other than James Bolt. Great man. Lovely to see you in our Melbourne studio. How are you?
Absolute honour to be here, Paul. Thank you.
Mate, welcome. If you want to talk to James, Holly, about anything, feel free. It's not an advice show, but, it's issues-based. Now, of course, James does some great stuff with the IPA, Holly, of course, in the Senate, where we understand that, many things will be in this budget, of course, announced next Tuesday. Childcare has been one of those little early flags up the flagpole moments. I always love when Labor turns around and basically goes, damn, good idea, but we're just going to spend more of it, right?
Yeah.
How possible is it to fix the childcare problem in Australia? Because clearly an unlimited amount of money, an unlimited amount of spots and hand-holding for everyone is the answer. But there's a limit to the number, there's a limit to the money. So how does this go for you?
Look, childcare, it drives me crazy because everyone talks about it as a women's issue, and it's not a women's issue, it's a family issue.
Yeah.
It's how we get economic participation, it's how we get people back into the workforce. And so talking about childcare in terms of it being a women's issue, I think is just insulting to women, it's insulting to families, and it's insulting for the dads that are great participants in their own families with their children.
Or need the two incomes in order to pay off their homes, which is why childcare gets kicked in the first place.
Look, absolutely. I think what the Treasurer has announced is great. It's targeted. It's going to be really helping those lower and middle income families and ensuring that they can go back to work and contribute more, because you do hear stories of women saying, well, I'm not going to take more days because I lose it all to childcare. So increasing economic participation for those 250,000 families is a great thing. I still think we've got to have more of a conversation about childcare in this country. Every time anybody talks about in-home care, it's rich people with nannies. It's not. It's for shift workers. It's for people in remote areas that they don't have access to childcare centres. Sometimes we have to think outside the box if we want to maximise economic participation and really give families the choice on how to run their families.
Absolutely.
And I think until, we can have a sensible discussion without the hysteria, without that class warfare mentality coming in. The Labor Party at the moment, $500,000 of salary and they'll give you $50,000 worth of childcare. It's just...
But remember, these were the same people who were, of course, James, going nuts when a paid parental leave scheme was going to be put in place under Tony Abbott. Remember, this, of course, was huge wastes of money, all the rest of it. But if the money goes around via childcare for women earning it's impossible to follow what the intellectual argument is behind some of these positions. The childcare issue is, look, it'll get branded up as female, but I think that Holly's right about it being the overall family issue. But how do you feel about this as something that, frankly, to me it feels a bit like healthcare or lots of other things, where it doesn't matter how much money you spend at anything, there'll be a group that'll turn around and say, hey, what about going further? Which means you never actually get the political win that they're setting out to in the first place by getting everyone to be a winner and say yay all at once.
Yeah, and it's not just the political win, it's the policy win. Both parties have been subsidising childcare against, just competing for the most subsidies for 10 years now, and we're still here talking about how much it costs families. There has to be another way about it, and good news, there is. It's about reducing red tape. Ever since 2012, it's taken a 3 to 4 year tertiary degree to just become a registered childcare worker. And the IPA estimates that takes about 300 hours to pay off. That's the childcare workers. And obviously that costs, they're going to be passed on to the families. The moment you can start to reduce the red tape surrounding this sector, we're going to see prices come down, and then you don't have to rely on having the best subsidy package next election time.
Yeah. Now, J.K. Rowling, of course, the legendary author of the Harry Potter books, they found another way to continue punishing her about her views on transgenderism, sex, women as women, all of that stuff, right? Now, it's a New Zealand Book Festival that's turned around and said, you can't even have a quiz about Harry Potter. Now, I think that we are looking at this issue through the wrong lens here, James, which is often, rather than spending time wasting our opinions attacking or defending Rowling's position, is it not a fundamental reminder to us, stick in your freaking lane? If you are the legendary author of a book about a kid with a lightning bolt who was able to bang that out for as many books as... Shut up about everything else. If you're the actor who's great at holding up a big toy gun goes boo, I don't care about your view on race relations. These people get themselves into trouble, so I have no sympathy for her being cancelled. I just say, you know what? Shut up.
Honestly, I don't know how J.K. Rowling's ever going to come back from this one. I'm sure her whole career was leading up to being the star of this reading festival down in New Zealand, and
yeah, I
the
know,
dream is over.
Yeah, she thought that the forever deal to go, oh, you want a musical? Okay, the Princess Theatre in Melbourne. How much?
Yeah.
All right, bang, done. But again, Holly,
It's not just this, Paul.
Yeah, keep going, mate.
I was going to say, it's not just this. It's like J.K. Rowling has this habit of, when no one asked, just telling us that this Harry Potter character was gay all along, as if this was going to protect her from the woke crowds and she could have a free pass for the rest of her life. These passes don't exist. J.K. Rowling will get cancelled just like anyone else.
Yeah, they'll come for everyone. Didn't
Harry get married in the end or something? Wasn't that the end of the book?
I thought he
No,
died.
I think it's like, look, I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I think
Don't
it was
ruin the end,
Dumbledore.
Paul. He didn't die.
Mate, I'm sorry, if you haven't read them by now, and if you're a kid that's up this late,
Yeah.
it's not my fault. I'm sorry, it's not
If you
my
haven't read
fault
it by
your
now,
parents
there are
can't send
better
you to
books
bed.
out there.
Yeah. All right, I get that there's a WA thing and we're on demand, but alas, it is what it is. Ian's in Victoria. Ian, what do you want to say tonight, mate?
Remarried Meghan in the end, and it went a little bit haywire.
Yeah.
What I have to say, Paul, love your show.
Thanks.
Glad to get through. Glad I got a little chuckle out of that one.
Good man.
And I've got a query in relation to Dan's social media team.
Yes.
Dan's social media team is anything from 64 to 87, depending on what you believe. What are they doing now? They
great
haven't
point.
posted on his Facebook since the 18th of April.
Yeah.
They're certainly not backing up James Molino. They're not backing up Richard Wynne. They're not backing up Steve McGee. What are they doing? Can someone delve into it and have a look at it and see what they're actually doing?
Well, this sounds
are
like...
they sitting at home playing Pokemon against each other?
Well, maybe James Bolt, you needed 60 people to take that most recent photo of Daniel Andrews and put it through the black and white filter. Maybe there was some next level that's not a bad point, though. Look, I get it. The Premier's office, they may have been all deployed across government and all the rest of it here. But it is amazing that at a time when Belton Road has taken place. A lot of other big structural things for the Victorian government that I get it. Daniel Andrews mightn't be able to physically get in front of a microphone, but it is amazing that he's sort of... It's a little bit like, we can only have one pope at a time. It's like he's Ratzinger running around in the second house.
Yeah, I think that's the leadership style we've seen in Victoria, certainly through the pandemic, and before that, it's just the Dan show, and there's no one around to take up the reins. And yeah, as the caller said, I mean, Dan Andrews has such a bloated personal staff. It's more than the Prime Minister, and Victoria is not as big as Australia, shocking as that may seem. It's just this public service bloating that we have here in Victoria, and it's just... it's unfathomable how many people work for this man.
Yeah, it is crazy. Simon is in Sydney. He wants to talk about childcare. Hello, Simon.
G'day, Paul. Look, I'm not a socialist, but, a bit of help for people with kids at daycare, that's all great. But maybe a bit of attention to the parents, mums mostly, that would like to stay home and look after their kids. I don't know if there's much there for them.
Well, Matt Canavan was talking about that a couple of days ago, about a greater focus and fairness for people who are the full-time carers at home. Senator, how do you feel about this? How does a government put that situation in place that doesn't get rorted? That's
Yeah, but there are family tax benefits. There are payments for those parents that stay at home. And we're talking about childcare in the terms of getting people back to work and economic participation.
Right.
If you want to stay at home with your kids, that's fantastic. I think most mums, if they're honest, would probably say, even if they are stay at home, one day a week at childcare is probably a pretty nice thing, so you can get the shopping done and a couple of other things without, screaming kids in the trolley or, running those errands. But there are subsidies regardless of whether you're working or not.
Well, that's it, because this is always a really interesting thing about whenever there's a single payment of assistance, the assumption is that it's the only assistance that's in the system.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of payments that go to families.
Yeah,
there's
that's a
also
fair point.
different tax breaks and different situations. But again, if we're looking at families, there's lots of things that we can look at. You know, one of the things that's always been flagged is income splitting when people talk about childcare. So if mum's at home, rather than 2 on 75,000 having much different tax brackets.
Yeah, good point.
One parent on 150 paying significantly more tax. There's lots of things that we can do and keep the conversation going outside of the box. But there is no way this is set to punish stay-at-home parents.
No, not at all.
It's just to boost economic participation and make it easier.
All right, got to take a break. We shall do so. Trevor Long, the great man from EFTM, joins us on the other side. One second.